In this video, we're going to look at the Day Zero configuration of the Cisco Catalyst 9800 Series L Compact Edition wireless controller. For this Day Zero configuration, we're going to walk through the command line interface and see how that prompt sets us up to get this in an operating order. Let's take a look. So first thing we're met with in the setup configuration dialog will be the prompt to say, yes, we do want to proceed with this guided Day Zero configuration. Once we understand that we're getting into this configuration, we'll promptly hit yes. And the first thing we're met with is the host name of the wireless controller. For this design, I'm just going to properly label it for our naming conventions, Cisco 9800L Wireless LAN Controller. Then we're going to be able to add a secret for our executive prompt commands and configuration modes that we can see and review as we finish up this tutorial. For our purposes, we're just going to use Cisco 123 for this working configuration. We'll also do an enable password as well, and then a virtual terminal password on top of that. You can set up an account for accessing the HTTP server for remote configuration, and we will hit yes to configure that. We'll keep the basic username as admin, and we'll do our Cisco 123 password for this as well. In our configuration today, we will not be using the SNMP management, so we will hit no. And then we're brought to the interface summary. This compact series controller does have 4 2 gigabit multi-gigabit interfaces and 2 up to 10 gigabit interfaces as well, plus the service port, which is gigabit Ethernet 0 for management. So the question we have in front of us is to use the what interface we need for our management network, and for this we will use our gigabit Ethernet 0 interface, and we will configure a static IP address on this interface. And satisfying those credentials, we're now met with what was actually created for this solution. We can see our enablement secrets, our enable passwords, our login credentials established for our HTTP connections, as well as the interfaces we have configured here right now. With this, you can see we do have an IP address on that gigabit Ethernet 0, which we configured just above. VLAN 1 right now does not have any IP address because we're running this through the command line version of this console, and it is shut down for our time being. Once we have reviewed all of our settings, we can then have one of 3 options to go back to the command prompt, save the configuration, or not save this config if we are not pleased with what we've done, or if we need to make any changes at this point. For our design here, we are satisfied with these entries, and we are going to save this configuration and apply this to our environment. Once we hit enter on our choice, so we are just going to save the configuration. We will now let it set up and kind of run through a couple checks and balances to see as it adds all of its features. But the first thing you're going to notice here is that it does automatically go and update our host name, which we've done properly there. And then we're met back here with our command prompts, as we don't have any plug-and-play discovery or agent in our network. We're doing everything locally from the device, and we'll be met with our overall configuration from here, that when we do plug either into the interface that we configured for gigabit Ethernet 0, we can manage the device from a web interface there, or we can then go through and look at the overall interface that we have from this Catalyst 9800 series. Let's take a look at this interface while we have it up here. Because this is running a Catalyst operating system, we'll first off do a show version, and we can see that we are indeed running an iOS XE 16.12 operating system for this 9800 series controller. We also can see that we do have our licensing in this environment, which is taking advantage of the smart license structure, which we do have also as our DNA Advantage license type. Everything else we would want to configure on this device, we can continue doing so as if it was a catalyst switch. We can go through this step by step, and we will do that in our next video. Thank you.